Mirror, mirror on the wall, tell me just exactly who is the foulest of them all. Okay, we got to get into this discussion on the Real Housewives of New Jersey from last night. Listen, Andy had to check Miss Teresa Judice, okay, about running her brother off the set, okay? And so we're going to break that down. We're talking about the Real Housewives of New Jersey reunion part 2, and we have a special guest with us in the building. That is right. We have Taria from the What Else Is Going On podcast back with us to cover the Real Housewives of New Jersey season 12 reunion. And we got a lot to talk about. So, first
Yeah.
things first, if you are in the chatterization, let us know where you're watching from. Taria, how you doing?
I am good. How are you? Um, I am so
Frustrated.
proud. You frustrated because I am so proud of Teresa. The fact that she memorized more than 2 lines, mirror, mirror on the wall. I said, my baby is growing.
I was thinking to myself, I don't know if she quite knows the story of what actually happens to this woman who says this line in the Disney fairy tale. But you know what? We'll leave that up to Teresa to find out for herself. Okay.
I just, I could not believe, and I may be fast forwarding, but when she stood up and said, I'm Teresa Giudice, basically like, yes, he's dating me. Fool. That's the whole reason everybody is concerned. And like even viewers, like, because you're Teresa, you're on TV. That is exactly why you ought to be aware of the alleged string of lawsuits that he's involved in that are public record. The alleged things with his ex. Like, you should be
but
aware of these things.
but no, Taria, that's all coming from Margaret, allegedly.
Allegedly. Like, even though you went to jail for your ex due to bankruptcy fraud, and your current is allegedly involved in a string of lawsuits to do with bankruptcy, that's public knowledge and information. Margaret is bringing it all out of nowhere, not the exes. Margaret. Okay.
Everything is Margaret's fault. Even when Andy tells her, even if Margaret didn't say it, I would be asking these questions. And it's like it just does not matter. It's all she needs someone to place blame on versus actually facing the truth of the matter, which is that this man has a whole facts that's just bad. And for those of you guys who don't know what whole facts is, that's just a word on the street about somebody that you're dating. Whether you collect this information from friends, from followers, or just general, street talk about who somebody is.
Right.
Generally speaking, if it ain't no whole facts on the person, you probably got an okay person to deal with.
Right.
Sometimes the whole facts can come in a little bit skew based on the situation because in relationships, there's somebody's the hero, somebody's the
Yep.
villain. So
Yes.
you just never know. But because there's so much whole facts that's bad, okay, it's like you got bad credit on your whole facts. Like the whole facts on Louis is coming back at a 390.
And a lot of it is verifiable. Even if someone were to say, okay, well, his exes could be lying, all of them. Okay. Let's talk about these lawsuits and the money. Let's talk about how on the show he lied about what he was doing in that video. That lets you know he lies. So
Yeah.
for her to, and I know that there are people out there that love Teresa. So I'm going to start out by saying, I have not always disliked Teresa. I used to love her. I haven't necessarily liked the person she's become. And I understand her history with Joe and Melissa, a 10-year-old history. However, to watch the rampant hypocrisy with her and not acknowledge it in the least, you can love whomever you want. Can I acknowledge that Margaret could have maybe backed off a little bit? Maybe. But I can also acknowledge that when you look of Teresa's history in this 10-year show, everything, all of her iconic moments and every storyline that she's been a part of has been because somebody else brought something up. So you might want to be thankful to Margaret, because what else would we be talking about? Let's really remove Louis and all this from the equation. What else would Teresa be bringing to the table? She's moving. We all do. Is it sad because we watched them girls grow up? Depends on who you ask. But that's all we would have of her. That's it. So if not for Margaret, Teresa would be boring too. They say Melissa has no storyline. Guess what? All those years that were great on Jersey were because of Melissa, Joe, and Teresa. They all needed each other.
And I say that every time, like, I review this show. This is a show that is based on family, and it is the connection with this family and the conflict within this family that really drives the storyline. So to me, and we can start sort of, we'll rate the episode in just a second, but as we start the episode, we see Joe has run off the stage and quit because he's been called a little B-boy or whatever by his own sister, who then says she didn't call him a B-boy, but then she calls him a B-boy again, and then she doesn't. Now she's apologizing, but now he's still a B-boy. And I was like, girl, make up your mind about how you're going to disgrace your brother. That's number one. But Andy basically has to tell her, listen, girl, here's the thing. You may call him a little B-boy, but I asked him to be out on this stage. I want him on this show. He's involved. This is a family dynamic that you guys have that has been in the makings for the past, decade? So yes, he is a part of this. And so ultimately, you calling him that is demeaning to him, because I am the boss and I asked him to be here. Okay. And sometimes I feel like, housewives need to be, not just housewives, cast members who think that they run the show need to be reminded that you are an employee, a contractor, more likely a contractor.
Yes.
And as a contractor, for those of you guys who are not familiar with the DMV area, as a contractor, you could be let go at any point in time. I always say to people, when I was contracting, my desk will have nothing on it. Why? Because if it's your last day, you don't want to spend a lot of time trying to collect your asset. You need to just be able to bounce out the building real nice and quick. Okay.
You are so right. At Will State.
There we have it.
Speaking of employee or contracted employee, we have to remember, people always talk about how they love the Jersey men. And I did bite a little bit of a bullet, and I listened, and I don't dislike Melissa. I get her with, but I listened to the recent podcast with her and Joe talking about the first half of the reunion. And I will say, I had to be reminded, Joe is a paid cast member. He's paid. So when he is involved with his sister, not Margaret, not Dolores, not Jen, when he's involved with his sister, he's doing his job. And if he wasn't doing his job, what kind of show would we have? He wouldn't have a job. So at this point, they're all dependent upon each other. As much as people like to say Teresa carries the show, she does, because she has other people right behind her. It's not just her, So Joe is a paid cast member.
And a lot of people don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why when he threatened to quit, Andy's like, hold on, pause for the cause, because this ain't going to work unless we have that family dynamic. So to me, it is the trifecta of Joe, Teresa, and Melissa that is the reason why this show is so successful, because we've had the ratings speak for themselves, to be quite honest with you, and it's because of that. Before we really dive into the meat and potatoes of this, I want, in the chatterization, y'all know we like to rate the episode, but at first, I felt like we both needed to vent first.
Yes.
So, based on your level of frustration and based on mine, and based on how good you thought it was, and guys in the chat, let us know what you would rate this episode as a reunion episode, right? Reunion part 2. let us know what you rated and why. I want to know why you rated what you rated. So when you give me the 10, give me just a quick blurb about why. Okay. Because I want to know that. And Taria, I'll let you go first.
I gave it a 9 because the way my emotions went all over the place. To me, if I'm watching something and it can do that and it keeps my interest, that wasn't a phone reunion, meaning I'm on my phone and I'm watching. That was I need to pay attention to every little detail because you will miss something. Even the conversation when Joe walked off and Jackie is talking to Jen and they're having real conversations when Teresa's not there. And then watching Teresa and Louie and Joe backstage, I was like, "Who? This is a lot." I give it a 9.
Okay. I'm gonna give it. I was torn. Okay. I was gonna give it a 9. I was gonna give it a 10, actually.
Okay.
Um, but I'm gonna give it a 9.5. And I'm gonna
Okay.
give it a 9. I'm taking away half a point because of Jennifer's receipts. Let me tell you why I'm taking away some points from that. Okay, because number one, that was a move that was pulled directly from the pages of Dr. Wendy Asefo with the poster board style receipt. Number two, when you bring us a receipt, bring us something that we don't know, okay, that we haven't been privy to in order to prove a point that you are making. We've already seen these posts. We already saw your face after the plastic surgery. Like you didn't need, we know all of that. That is ancient history. So it's fine. We know all that we needed to know was Melissa made a post, you ain't like it, you called them a crook. You called them crooks.
Right.
The end. I did not need your dissertation and your TED talk with these poster boards that show me the receipt needs to be scandalous.
Yeah,
It needs
yes.
to show us something that we did not know, a piece of the puzzle that would make all this make sense. So I had to take away a point for that. I really did.
I like that. And I will say, did I miss something? Because I went to go back, but then I was so captivated with the rest. Was Melissa's post based off of something Jennifer said, like at the
Yes.
reunion? So
Yes.
you are upset at the reaction of someone, like their reaction was based off of something you said, and you mad at their reaction. You cannot dictate somebody's reaction to you. So when you say something, there's a chance the person's going to respond on a 1, a 0, a 9.5, or a 15 on a scale. So I was like, so is she mad because of Melissa's response and me feeling sorry for you because you opted to get a nose job and you happened to be on pain medicines when you woke up and saw it? I do not feel sorry for you. I really don't. Like that to me was like Melissa had a point on that one. Like, okay, you know.
I
And
mean,
you notice that Jen, whenever someone pointed out, Jen, you did this or said this first, it was we all do it. That's what this show is for. But as soon as someone said something to offend her, it was, but my kids could see that. You don't get to do that, ma'am. I'm sorry. You made the choice for them to be on here. You've opened up their life. At some point, we've got to stop limiting things.
especially when you falling down face drunk and stuff. Your kids see that too.
Right.
And what I loved was that, as you stated, there was conversation that was happening as Louis and Teresa and Joe and Andy and Melissa are all trying to hash this out backstage. Jackie is trying to reason with Jennifer that, hey, listen, you are a different person when you're not around Teresa. We just want you to stop doing nasty things to us when at her either be like request or in
Mhm.
order to appease her. And I think it's safe to say that Jennifer does that.
Do you remember right after her first season, Jackie and Jennifer didn't get along. Then they made up. And then this video surfaces of Jen out to dinner with Teresa and Teresa's friends, and Teresa saying, do Jackie's voice, do this person's voice. And it wasn't in a playful, fun way. We know what Teresa is doing. Come on. Like, and we were literally catching her in lies last night, roll
All
tape.
night long.
And that's my issue. If you want to say that Teresa still holds residual resentment from Melissa and Joe,
She
then you
does.
need to come full speed ahead with that. But I don't want to hear this. I want you to be loyal to me. And then I'm not going to be loyal to you. She kept telling Joe, I want you to tell Margaret to shut the F up. She doesn't need to be able to talk about me. But when they tried to make Michelle pious, the realtor happened last year, and she spoke about your brother owing somebody money. You sat at that pool and at the table and just looked at her. And Melissa said, aren't you going to say something? And she said, well, she didn't know what the truth was. It took some convincing for her to speak up for her brother. So no, you don't get to demand what you can't give. You do not.
And she does that the entire season and the entire reunion. I when we talk about this show, you have to also, I feel like, talk about the history of the show. And for a lot of us
Yes.
who have been there from the beginning, we know we can take it back to season, what was it, 4 or 5, that there was the whole plot to set up Melissa to
Ooh,
expose her as a stripper. And the
yes.
people that were doing this were all Teresa's friends. Teresa knew that this was going down, okay?
Yep.
Allegedly, right? And
Mm-hmm.
did nothing to stop it from happening. Even had the guy who was the alleged owner of the strip club coming in to make this statement to embarrass Melissa, and
Mm-hmm.
Teresa is acting like she was none the wiser. It's like knowing that it was she who whispered in Danielle's ear after the store owner told her to pull Danielle to pull Margaret's hair, and Teresa whispered, "Do it."
Yeah.
Just knowing all of these shenanigans that have gone on over the years, and this woman is trying to feign like, oh, but I'm all about family. I expect you guys to have my
Yes.
back. When over these years, we know that the biggest issue that you have had with them is that they are now on the same platform as you.
On the and if you did okay, you didn't like how they came on. We could tell you watch back. Yes, there was an intention with Melissa and Joe. I thought we had moved past that. And if we haven't truly moved past that, I'm tired of the little when it's convenient for you, they tricked me. But when they have your back, they're okay. And I feel like they're operating from two different spaces. Teresa is operating from you prove your blind loyalty to me, and then I'll forget X, Y, and Z. And Joe and Melissa are operating from I'm proving my loyalty to you by not talking about you, but they're not really saying, hey, I'm sorry for coming on the show behind your back. And people have been saying that Jackie and Melissa are Margaret's puppets. I beg to differ. Melissa did tell Margaret more than once, hey, don't bring it up.
It's
Jackie
not going to work out well for
is not
you.
going to work out for good for you. And what about Jackie? Really trying to be there for Jen until she found out that there was more to the story with Jen. People will look at other housewives shows and say that's masterful. Whether again you care for Margaret or not, the way she was able to talk to Jen and then flip that thing and be like, well, what you don't know, Jackie, is because that added a whole nother element, and it let us know Jennifer is not always the injured party in these things.
She ain't no victim,
She ain't
okay?
no victim. No.
She ain't no
So
victim.
it's just it's frustrating to watch it all play out. And it was Melissa who spoke first and said, let's stop doing this last episode about having the close relationship. I want to see that play out. We don't have one. Let's see it. Let's see it play out. But then again, yeah, that look on your face.
I
We
just
talked
feel
about
like
it.
we
This is
know
a
they
real
don't like
family.
each other.
That's true. There's nothing else to
I
it.
feel like I feel like we know Melissa and Teresa just don't like each other, and Teresa has Melissa in a chokehold. And the day that Melissa decides that you no longer have any control over me will be the day that Melissa is able to, I think, rise a bit further on this show, because I think she has been trying to keep the peace because that's, she knows that it means a lot to her brother,
Mhm.
to Joe Gorga. And she is operating from a space of, I need to tiptoe around this person because I need to protect her relationship with Joe. And I think that
Mhm.
that's the only reason why. But I think if Melissa stepped out from behind that chokehold that Teresa has on her and really
Mhm.
let loose, I think that Melissa would be a much more formidable player because she actually proved to me that she was a more valuable player on the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip than Teresa was at all.
That's and if there was nobody there to push storyline along, we would get the Teresa that was on Girls Trip on New Jersey. So it's like it's not people keep saying it's the Teresa show because she has somebody activating her. If she didn't have somebody and Teresa is one note, she responds one way. That's it.
Literally, I'm gonna curse you out, and I might toss some stuff at you. That's it.
And I
That's
might
it.
toss some stuff. That is it. When last night, what I liked when Melissa walked back there, because I have 3 sisters-in-laws and was very, very, very close. And one of them now we don't really, and so me and my husband have had conversations like, check this out. We're one. The Bible says to leave and cleave, and we both believe in that, right? Nobody's coming in this house to separate our family. So I can't imagine Melissa and Joe and what they deal with. So I liked when Melissa got up finally last night and went back there and said, everybody stop. Don't let the things that she's trying to pull distract you. Let's go.
I love that
I
moment.
said, come on, Melissa.
I see that is what I feel like is what we need from Melissa moving forward. And we know that she and Teresa have not spoken since the reunion. So it'll be interesting to see how Melissa responds next season. It'll be interesting to see how Dolores and Jennifer respond to each other next season. Because
Mm.
I was like, you and I know we talked about this last episode, but you weren't here for that. So we gotta I want to kind of rehash that just a bit. Jennifer choosing to make an enemy out of Dolores was, I think, her worst mistake. Now, I think what she wanted was, um, I think that Jennifer knew that she needed to come into the reunion guns blazing. And I felt like in order to shake some things up, she
Mhm.
chose Dolores as her new target, which I don't think is going to work out well for her.
No, and it also revealed that Jen again is a manipulator. You told Dolores off camera to not let you cry when you get to the house. And then you get to the house and she says don't cry and you leave the script. And now it's woe is me. I can't even cry about it, be sad about it. I was like, girl, see, when you try to manipulate like that, other things come out. So now we see that you are behind cameras. You really are manipulating things behind the camera. I mean, we already know that she auditioned for the show 3 times. And this is not, she said this out of her own mouth on a couple of different podcasts I listened to, then built the house she's in now so that she could be on the show. So it would be impressive enough. Because one of the producers had told her, well, your house is not really, so she had a house built. So we know this is what you want to do. And you
Well, Andy in this episode did tell her, it's interesting that you came on this show and you have this secret. And typically, what he tells people is if you're going to come on these reality TV shows and you have these secrets, they are going to come out.
and have you ever dealt with a hard issue? Sometimes maybe inappropriate to other people. Like you may have made a joke about it because it's your stuff. It's not anyone else's. So I watch people and I watch Jen say that Margaret bragged about her affair. If that were me and my husband and one of us had had an affair, it would be in my tagline. Like, I'm getting it out before you say anything. So when she made the joke, I felt like if it offended Jen, she should have said it, but she couldn't because at that point, her secret wasn't out yet.
Oh, because she told us in the actual episode that they had made a pact not to talk about it.
And Bill said we could lie. Oh, did he really? So you're already telling us you're going to not be authentic when you come on this show. And it makes sense why her family it was very family heavy, almost like the way of Teresa, but just with her parents and her brother and the friction
Mhm.
there. It was almost like she was sort of, and maybe not on purpose, but how the show has become about Teresa and her family. That was Jen's story. It wasn't really anything necessary personal about Jen and Bill. It was about how they take care of their family and how her mom and dad don't get along and how their brother is gay and the mother had a hard time with it. Remember, it was all about that.
Did you
So
kind of dive into a slightly different topic? Dolores and Frank and this new guy. Why is Frank living with David? And did you get the sense, and maybe this will really pop up in the next episode, but did you get the sense that there's some slight tension between Dolores's new man and Frank?
I got a whole lot of vibes. And I was like, what is going on? And I'm telling you, you know how Margaret and everyone says the stuff is out there. So I was perusing the social media streets as we all do, and up pops someone with a picture with David, Dolores's ex. And allegedly, because we see the picture, but we don't know if this conversation happened. Allegedly, David is very nice and starts spilling a little bit of tea and says, well, for the show, me and Frank built a relationship, but it's actually true now. But he has his own home. He doesn't live with me, but that's to help Dolores along with her story. So when I was watching her say that, I was like, is that true? Because that doesn't kind of make sense to me. Like why Frank would be living with them. Why did he just up and leave the other home? Because he had another one before. So like,
see, and when Andy says, does he have employment?
Yes.
I had to wonder the same thing. I'm like, why is he house hopping?
Do they still own the gym? Remember, they went into business together a couple seasons ago and bought the gym.
I forgot about that.
So I'm like, what is going on? To me, Dolores doesn't come off as the type that wants to be on the show, but I think she does. And it's okay. But I think she's now enjoying being on the show. And she knows she has to come with a story. And evidently, it can no longer be as Teresa's rider. Like,
no.
So when was Teresa's anniversary party? I meant to look, her engagement party. And then I wanted to see, well, when did Dolores get with this guy?
I think Teresa's engagement party, I could be wrong, happened like December.
Okay.
But I don't know. I really don't know. It seemed like it had happened in the winter, spring, or fall.
Yes.
I mean, in the winter or fall. But if Dolores got with this guy in around like October, Teresa's saying she wasn't invited because they had never double dated before. But my question, so then my thought is this: you just gonna leave people off if they single?
And my thing is, if you did want it to be this couples thing, if I'm planning this engagement party that I have no control over the seating charts, even though I'm paying for it, and I invite Richie, and Richie, I don't think he has a person, I would say you are one of my closest friends. I just want you to know that there are mainly couples coming, but I really want you to be there, and you can bring a date. I don't have to know him. The point is you being there and whether you feel comfortable or not coming by yourself. And I see Dolores just going by herself. And to touch on last week's episode a little bit, we keep hearing Teresa talk about family, keeping the peace. You think asking your brother, Louis asking your brother, and now, no, you don't have to ask Melissa. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is she acts like they need to do whatever they can to keep the peace. You think that's keeping the peace? And then sitting them at a friend's table, you think that's keeping the peace? You know?
Well, I think that there was also some speculation that somebody just pointed out that because Dolores and Dina do not mess with each other like that, and Dina was going to be there, Teresa chose to invite Dina versus inviting Dolores because, Dolores is also cool with
friends with
Caroline. And Caroline and Dina are sisters, and they do not F with each other at all either.
I can almost see that, but I can't remember what it was, but it was like 2 years right before COVID. Like they were all in the same place together off camera. So that's why I was like, I ain't really believe in that, because I remember, and I have to go back and see if I can find it, because I remember thinking to myself, wow, I wonder if Dolores is talking to Dina, because they were all in the same place together with Teresa. So that I was like, I don't know if I'm really buying that. But even still, wouldn't you kind of like if it's me and I love both of y'all, hey, can y'all do this for me?
Absolutely. And I also got to think to myself, if I'm Dolores, I'm looking at my friendship with Teresa a whole lot differently.
Yep. Yep.
I'm definitely looking at my friend with a side eye. And I think also too, there may be some issues between and I guess maybe we'll find this out next episode between Dolores and her new man and Frank, because it sounds like she is setting some boundaries for Frank that he's maybe not accustomed to, because
Yep.
this guy is not going to have this man living in the same house with her that she used to be around. And I do not blame him for, not wanting that.
Right. But even it would even be weird to me as the new man. So you mean to tell me your ex-husband is living with your recent ex-boyfriend? And you think I'm supposed to be okay? Like, I know I don't have control of that, but that to me is still too close for comfort.
I mean, and are we like in what is this summer house? Like that doesn't all of that to me doesn't make sense. And
That
I
is
don't even
summer
watch
house.
that show. I don't even watch that show. But in my mind, it's giving me summer house vibes. And I'm like, y'all are a little bit too old for
Too
all of
old
this
for this.
for all of this frat house shenanigans.
But do you think next season, well, it will be something next season to for Dolores's man to hang around the show, because that call with that conversation with Andy, I was like, oh, clearly. Like I felt that to be not that it was, but I was just kind of like, oh, I don't know if I really like that.
I felt
But
like
what if
that was a welcome to the party phone
thank
call.
you. How is that
That
going to go with Frank hanging
it,
out with the guys? And
it'll be very, very interesting to say the least. And with the addition of the fact that it may be that unless Jackie brings some serious fire, the allegation is that she's been demoted.
again, so in case you guys that are watching haven't picked up on it by now, I love podcasts. I love to hear different views and different, and it sparks my mind. And I watch Richie like a podcast. He knows. I heard Jackie on a podcast recently, and Jackie's one to me. Her body may not betray her real feelings, but her voice does. And they asked her, and it almost seemed like the wind shifted a little. And she was like, I can't talk about that. I mean, and I know nothing. And they were like, but you have to know something. And she's like, I mean, listen, I don't want to make the Bravo gods mad at me. I don't know anything, but I'm just open for whatever. So it very much gave me, if I had to bet that day, I would bet, oh, I don't know if she's coming back. And if she's not, as open as she was it because she chose not to engage with Teresa? Remember, she said, I'm
I
done. I'm not.
I, I wondered that too, and here's my thing. Let me say this. I am a big fan of Jackie.
Me too.
I think that when she came into this show, she was definitely she came in stronger, I thought. And I feel like sometimes what happens is a little bit and I think I heard Carlos King talk about this, is that people start to react to what the blogs and what the media and what the fans are saying about them and their persona, because now you're coming at their favorite person.
Yep.
And so a part of me feels like she kind of shrunk herself a little bit, specifically after last season.
Yep.
And now understanding the totality of how that may affect her, not only mentally, but also how that may affect, what she is on in terms of her journey with her eating. Then
Mm.
I also think that, to a certain degree, I don't know if the show is healthy for
Yeah.
her in that regard. And I feel as though her health is much more important than
Yeah.
dealing with these types of shenanigans. And I don't want to make that judgment for her, but I will say that I also feel like she's had a very definitive arc that I could see as an ending point right now. And I like Jackie.
That makes you know what, I agree with you, because where do we go from here? Like, what you're right. Where do we go? Because she kind of wrapped up. She's still on a lifelong journey with her eating, but she wrapped up the pivotal points for us. Like now that she's crossed over, she's even going on vacation longer. So she's wrapped everything up.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right. And
Exactly.
maybe Bravo, they're trying to incorporate, diversity, whatever. I wonder if they kind of stepped in and did like kind of assessed everything, because she talks a lot about how last year is what sent her back spiraling.
Exactly.
I wonder if
Exactly.
Bravo kind of said, maybe we bring you back a little bit, like step back a little bit.
And I saw somebody saying that, Jackie blaming Teresa for her eating disorder is disgusting. That's not what she was saying. It's
Yeah.
not that she's blaming Teresa on her eating disorder. It's situational, right?
Mhm.
So it's not the person, it's the stress of the situation that was the trigger in
Yes.
this instance. So no one is saying that. And I sometimes wonder, I have to address this, and I usually don't. But I sometimes have to wonder, like, as I know that people have their favorites,
Mhm.
but sometimes I just want, as we are viewers, also to not put a word into someone's mouth.
Yes.
I'm simply suggesting that, as she has stated, that because of the situation, it was a trigger for her that she's admitted to.
Mhm.
And she's not saying Teresa's the cause of her eating disorder. It's the nature of the show.
Yes. And that situation directly involved her and her family, and it triggered her. But it's interesting that people may suggest that, but they're able to understand Jen saying Margaret triggered me, and that's why I treated her the way I did for her and Bill. So it's
Mm,
interesting that people understand Jen saying, I'm feeling like this and I'm losing it because Margaret triggers me. And they understood Jen name calling Margaret and all of that, calling her all those names and questioning whether or not she was actually sexually harassed. But they can't understand Jackie just saying, hey, I've dealt with it, because she's dealt with it for a long time. And me being in this high level pressure situation just reactivated something, because that's the only thing she could control. You can't control the rumor, but I can control this. And that's what I'm going to
exactly.
do.
Exactly. So I don't know. I mean, there's a part of me that feels like she's had a full narrative arc, and I can see story wise how they might want to sort of start to shift the dynamics,
Yeah,
because with if you take Jackie out of the equation, which again I love Jackie, but
me too.
or at least if you put her in a friend role, then you make a way open for a new dynamic. But the problem that they've had with Jersey is that they've had a casting issue. For the past 4 seasons, they've had the same cast, and it's been very good for the
Yeah.
show, and the numbers prove it. But you also need to always be cycling people in. And I think that Jersey needs a Dorinda level casting,
Mm.
which is to me a seamless casting choice. I don't think I've ever seen a casting choice more seamless than Dorinda in New York.
She came right in, and it was like she had always been there.
Exactly.
And Bravo can get to the point, because at this point they are showing more fourth wall breaking. I would like to see them get to the point. No, you don't have to bring a total stranger, but I want to see one or two housewives brought in that don't have a strong tie to either party, a Teresa, a Jen, a Melissa, a Margaret, but maybe they run in the same circle so they can say, oh, our kids went to school together and we knew each other. But I'm learning more and more about her, because what I want to see is Teresa operate with that person without saying, well, they came in and immediately went to this side, or see them come in and immediately defend Teresa. I want a person coming in fresh that has kind of loose ties to maybe all of them, but no real tie, but enough of a connection. and just see how that will play out.
Well, the alleged rumors are that they're testing a friend of Melissa's, they're testing a friend of Margaret's, and they're testing a friend of Teresa's. Now, in the past couple of seasons, none of Teresa's friends have panned out. Okay.
None.
Tracy ain't even been seen on the reunion.
Right, and she got dressed for it. She was
All dressed up and no place to go.
no,
It's fine for me because I hated that dress. I hated all that weave. It was just like, okay, girl,
not the move.
not the move. Tiki was a better house husband than Tracy was a housewife.
Can I tell you, I have started. So I was listening to you, and my husband and I bought a house in December, and we decided to come in and say, "Oh, we're ripping everything out." Thank you. It happened so fast. It was like, okay, it was meant, and we fell in love. But he's like, "We're changing this, we're changing that." So I have you on. I was playing you, so you were in the hallway on one of the things, and I'm vacuuming stuff up, and he's redoing our stairs, and you have me walking around going, "Tiki." Not Tiki, but you call him Tiki Barber. And I love when you say Tiki should have been a housewife. Since we changing up everything, bring Tiki in.
I mean, I just felt like he had it, but clearly he was also busy working all the time. So he couldn't really, he was like, listen, I got my real coin over here. So y'all not going to have me messing up my real coin for this. I mean, I'll come and play with y'all and things like that. And Tracy, good luck to you. But, and I can't blame him. But
right.
Tracy, to me, was not a good addition. You need for Jersey a very strong personality. You need a very strong player. You need somebody either, and again, with either very deep ties or, like you said, an incoming person who just can stand on their own
and can go toe to toe. I know what those Jersey women are like. I am born and raised in Jersey, so I know exactly the time, and they're there. Especially, I'm from South Jersey, but the area where they are, Richie, the money is there, and the ladies have to be there. And I don't care if Teresa carries this franchise, if Anini used to carry RHOA, if Vicky used to carry Orange County. We need to stop, or the network needs to stop having these OGs think, or stop letting them run everything, because it hinders the show sometimes. It really does.
It does. But the problem with that is, and this is a whole different topic we go down a whole rabbit hole on, is because to me, I feel like there's a strength to having an OG there.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like the OG it keeps the audience who started with the show around, and then you can still bring in those new people as you bring in new characters, but the casting has to be strong. Again, Dorinda level strong, Kenya Moore level strong,
Yes.
Lisa Rinna level strong, right?
I think we keep the OG and say, but you don't run this.
You keep the OG, but you keep them in check.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it can't be that the OG runs the show. The OG is a part of the show and recognizes, hey, I've been here for a long time, and can be the nucleus of the group, can even be the highest paid, right? But you want an OG. If I had to pick someone that I feel like epitomizes what I think an OG should be, who is actually not an OG, it would be Candy.
Yes.
The reason I say that is because Candy has proven that she is easy to work with.
Yeah.
And not at any point in time, even though she is the longest running person on Atlanta, does she come across as thinking she's the queen bee of the show. She recognizes this is an ensemble and she plays her part.
Yes.
And so I feel like if you get that type of mentality and not this, then you end up with a franchise with an OG that lasts the test of time. And I'm sure Teresa will be on the show until the wheels fall off. And I think that's great for Jersey. People will listen to this and think, well, they just hate Teresa.
No,
It is not that.
at
Teresa
all.
is necessary for the show. She is absolutely necessary for the show. But we also don't want it to become a situation where she becomes a dictator. And that's not a good show to watch.
And Margaret did say that last night. When I look at this show, and I feel like sometimes us, the viewers, do have a little bit to do with how these OGs and these housewives come on to these shows and stay. I look at how you take, and I've said before, a Salt Lake City or a Potomac or any other shows, no one has problems when people are bringing up the other people's situations over and over and over again. But when Margaret does her job, because that's what her job is, people say she needs to back off. That's not her job. And you have been in TV, you know that a lot of times there is a producer saying, well, hey, are you going to talk about this? Are you going to bring this up? Are you going to talk? So we look at it like, oh, Margaret's just being nosy. Margaret has a job to do if she wants to keep that job, like all the housewives. And that was
Yeah, I
what
mean, and that's the case. I mean, regardless of whether or not, because the story is so big, as Andy stated earlier, whether Margaret asked you about it or not, I would have asked about it. So it is what it is. The stories were out there. Somebody was going to have to say something. And what Margaret did was she told Teresa, episode 1 of this season, you guys need to get in front of it.
And had he answered it, it would have went away. Nobody was upset when Sutton and Garcelle and Kyle were all asking Erica repeatedly last season about a legal situation that really she probably couldn't talk too much about. But we're getting upset because Margaret is asking about things that are out there. It's the viewership.
It really is. Next week we have the husbands coming out. Who knows? Maybe we'll see Tracy. I don't know. Maybe she'll run by.
Hollering Tiki. Hey, Tiki, too good for us.
Maybe we'll see her. Who really knows? They might actually cut her out altogether. So we'll be watching that. Let me ask you a quick question about Beverly Hills. Are you watching Beverly Hills this season? Are you excited? And who are you most excited about? And what are you most excited to see?
I'm watching Beverly Hills. I will be watching the premiere tonight. I can't hate watch anything. So when my body sees somebody that it doesn't like, I'm always in a constant state of, and I have a lot of that with Beverly Hills. I'm on the edge of my seat because I feel like Garcelle needs a niece to come in and be like, nah, you ain't get ready to talk to auntie like that, Lisa Rinna. So I'm always anxious, like, Garcelle, is she going to say something? Is she going to say something? I'm excited to see the Garcelle and the Erica. And I'm already anticipating the heat I'm going to feel if Erica comes out of pocket towards her, because the trash can and throwing away the book, we already seen all of that.
The tea is that was allegedly actually not Erica's trash can.
It was Lisa.
The people are saying that it was Lisa Rinna's trash can.
So I listened to y'all. Don't shoot me. Listen, I took a bullet, okay, because I was trying to get information, but no, I listened to 2 T's in a Pod, and Teddy said, you guys need to look closely in the video. There is an Easter egg, like an old phone. An old phone. Who had the old phone on Beverly Hills a couple seasons ago? Who's the only one that had a phone in their home and it was old? Lisa Rinna. And see, I don't like that. And see, that's what I'm not looking forward to, because I'm like, okay, these games that we're playing now, it's like Garcelle's either gonna have to come for somebody's neck. Like, she can't do this whole kind of, sort of at the reunion. I need her to come in hard, and I need Cherie to have her back. I'm also looking forward to seeing Kathy Hilton standing outside of a door, and I truly hope they're really saying, don't let her in. I am hoping that is what it is. I'm hoping. And then Crystal and Garcelle, I don't like to see the non-white housewives feud. I just don't, because we already get enough of that in the real world. So, but we'll see. She said they're good now, but we'll see. But I'm just excited to see it all. The Beverly Hills to me is shot differently. It's bright, it's beautiful, it's glamorous. It makes you want to go shop. It draws you in. It makes you want to go to the Amazon cart and be like, charge it. And you're like, oh shoot, I got to pay my bill. I'm not on a TV show. So I love Beverly Hills.
I like Beverly Hills. I like the pacing of Beverly Hills. There's something, especially the last 2 seasons, the way they've paced the show, it has just every week to me, the anticipation gets bigger and the intensity
Yes.
is so thick you can cut it with a knife. I am super excited about it. I cannot wait to watch. I know that I'm going to be I I'm trying to go into this season with a better understanding of Erica, but she makes it very difficult for me. I was listening to an interview with her and Bryce Sander, and she's talking about, I have to protect myself. So I'm gonna actually go into this season trying to view it from the standpoint of someone who is losing everything, because her
Yeah.
tagline is, she has nothing to lose.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna try to watch it from that standpoint, but I'm very, very intrigued by the Kathy Hilton of all of this. And I know that's not even gonna come until later.
Right.
So I know that there's a lot more in front of us, but I'm definitely excited about it and I cannot wait to watch.
And with Erica, it makes it hard to have empathy for her because of her arrogance. We
Exactly.
saw Jen Shaw shed tears. Like, you could tell she's really afraid to be away from her family.
Yeah.
She's really, in despite of that. With Erica, if you came in like, look, y'all, I'm scared. I'm getting ready to lose everything. Okay. It's one thing, but to come in like, I don't owe you nothing because I'm fighting for my life. It's a different vibe, and people are going to receive you differently because of that. I mean, like, every time I see her, I just want to go orphans and widows, orphans and widows.
And the funny, this is not funny, but the ironic thing is that there is a post, I saw it earlier, of her talking about, of her screaming at Crystal that you think it's cool to, you know, uh be on the side of the orphans and widow of the victims, and then
Mhm.
they actually show the victims and you
Whew.
see people in the hospital. And so juxtaposing that and that one moment alone, it's just, what it makes you ask, what kind of person are you?
And we already know from her first season, I never truly cared for her because I felt like
I didn't either.
the standard that she tried to hold everybody else to, you don't even meet that standard. What you've done is cut yourself off emotionally from things. So when she says she's Mrs. Girardi and Erica Jane, you truly developed different sets of emotions, right? I get that, coping mechanisms. But the way she tries to use that as an intimidation tactic is what gets me. Because we have seen Potomac, we've seen Atlanta, we've seen OC, where when those girls aren't trying to intimidate, they're just going for blow, whatever.
Right,
But
right.
Erica tries to maintain this controlled facade, but still be aggressively back somebody down so they don't challenge her. And that I don't like at all.
And the other thing I don't like, I want to say a quick shout out to the lovely Sharif. Thank you so much for the super chat and the membership. Guys, you can also join as a member as well. Thank you so much. And the last thing I'll say about Erica is that I don't appreciate, so I'm going to have to try to get over this hurdle too, is the way that she talks to production. There's the scene of her and Garcelle, with Garcelle kind of asking her about the situation that she's going through. And she's telling Garcelle that she's been cleared of everything. And the producers are like, well, where is this information that you're saying that you've been cleared of it? And she's saying, well, I don't effing know, tell Bravo to go and do their due diligence. You guys go figure it out for yourselves. And I just don't
Yeah.
I I don't rock with people who are disrespectful to production, because for people who don't know, production is a very hard job. It is a very long job. It is usually a very thankless job. And these are the people that make you look good. or they can make you look bad. but
Mhm.
but in this instance, as Garcelle says, she's making herself look bad all on her own.
Yep.
And those are the things that I don't like.
Yeah. I just like I want to look at her and say the nerve of you, the nerve of and the nerve of y'all to kind of let her almost get away with this behavior. It's
Well,
appalling.
they know what's going to bring the ratings because they know she's gonna make herself as again as Garcelle said, she's gonna make herself look bad. So
Yeah.
they're going to be here for it because they know that the numbers are probably going to be an indicator, but it will be interesting to see if the numbers are an indicator of whether or not people are tuning in for that type
Yeah.
of drama. So
I'm excited to watch it. Nothing. I'll say this. I'm a little bit biased. Nobody in my eyes touches my Atlanta girls, so I moved them separately, and I'm excited about Beverly Hills.
I am too.
For a different,
So hopefully we can have you come back for
Hey,
a discussion on Beverly Hills if you are up to it, if you have the time.
I
And
love it.
perfect. Y'all, thank you so much for tuning in to the chat today. We appreciate everybody's comments, whether you agree or whether you disagree. The great thing that we can always do is come together and have a good old ponderosa, as Jackie Christie says, and really just do a deep dive into the issues of the Real Housewives. And then we will go about our day and deal with our own issues. Okay. Taria, tell everybody where they can find you, please. I will place the link for your podcast in the description of this video, but I want, verbally give it to them.
Thank you. First, I have to thank you, and I have to thank the Skye Squad because I am a part of the Skye Squad, and I love being in the comments because even if there's a debate back and forth, nobody gets really disrespectful. So I love what you have created. So I love y'all, Skye Squad. So you can find me on Instagram at WEIGO Podcast, We Go Podcast. What else is going on? Twitter, it's the same thing. I have a Patreon, patreon.com/ I believe it's We Go Podcast. So yeah, come holler at me. DMs are always open too. If I don't check them right away, comment under a post and at me so I'll see it.
There you go.
I love
There
you.
you go. Make sure you guys are checking Taria out on her podcast. She's got some great interviews with some great reality TV stars and some other Bravo fans and other podcast hosts in her lineup. So please go and check her out. Again, the link will be in the description down below. And listen, guys, I just want to leave you with this one final thing as we close out. Tell us in the comments who truly is the fairest one of all.